Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we're discussing the Imperium's resistance to Leviathan, as we ask which Primarch is best suited to lead the counterattack. Roboute Guilliman or Lion L. Johnson. General spoiler warning to begin, as today we will be referencing events from across the Warhammer 40k universe. So you have been warned, and with that said, let's just jump straight in. To coin the infamous Jaws tagline, just when you thought it was safe to go back into the void, Hive Fleet Leviathan emerges. Or I guess technically re-emerges. Now, there's hardly ever a good time for a tendril of a Hive Fleet to emerge, but now feels particularly bad. The galaxy's torn in half, and Guilliman's about to, if not already has, crossed the Great Rift, attempting to bring salvation to Imperium Nihilus. So not only is Guilliman busy, but a fair share of the Imperium's vast military resources are too. And as we know, the High Lords of Terror have had to take responsibility to counter the new Tyranid threat, to bide time whilst they marshal together the juggernaut of the Militarum. They have launched their Soulblade Fleet initiative, the fast, largely Astartes response forces, doing what they can to stall and delay the Tyranid forces. Will it be successful? Well, only time will tell. Should the threat continue to advance on the throne world, however, you would have thought surely Guilliman would have to prioritise that threat and return to resolve the situation himself. However, there is of course another Primarch now bestriding the stars as well. A certain Lion L. Johnson has returned, and his inevitable reunion with Guilliman is only a matter of time. And although the Lion's attention seems focused on saving the people of the Dark Imperium, it does all raise the question, which of them should face Leviathan? Which commander, Roboute Guilliman or Lion L. Johnson, would be the best suited? Well, we're talking two of the most renowned Primarch commanders from the Great Crusade here, each with their own records and prestige that was vying for the Warmaster title. Guilliman, the Empire of Ultramar, the largest legion. Pharrell Johnson the first, and it's said Horus savoured his appointment over no other brother more than the Lion. So there's really no wrong answers here. Each Primarch would represent the Imperium's best possible hope of victory. As always, drop your own thoughts in the comments below. But let's begin with Guilliman, the Lord Commander, the man who single-handedly has dragged the Imperium back from the brink of extinction, and not to mention had the weight of the entire race on his shoulders. You really can't praise the strategic ability of Guilliman enough. This guy not only conducts one campaign at a time, but organises and coordinates the entire Imperium's defence as he does so. At least Imperium Sanctus's. Guilliman's mind has always been adept at the larger picture. The battle beyond the battle. The prelude and the repercussions. The effects, the outcomes. There's a reason why the territory he conquered within the Great Crusade was so prosperous, why his legion could advance and expand so quickly. Because he factored everything in. He ensured that the worlds were functioning and able, each step of the way, knowing that the administration was half the battle. It's what we've seen already within this era. Within the Dawn of Fire series, the Indomitus fleets had specific orders to resupply from the key worlds they liberated. How the powerhouses of manpower and resources were the key targets. And it's again the focus for the Crusade to Nihilus. with Guilliman concerned about the resupply of Nihilus chapters, asking for Belisarius Caul's assistance in rolling out the Primaris technology, and requesting him to make yet more Primaris. If there's one thing you know about Guilliman, he will prepare for the campaign ahead. Against the Tyranids, that could be a very important factor. It's undoubted Guilliman would have already studied the records and the history against this new threat during his absence, and no doubt will already have a preferred method of counter in mind. So you could perhaps argue Guilliman would be the best prepared for a campaign against the Tyranids mentally and even logistically. Plus, with the emergence of Leviathan to the Galactic West, far closer to the Sol system, you'd like to think the flow of supply would be far easier to establish than other campaigns have been. Yes, there's war everywhere, manpower and aid needed across the galaxy, but there's going to come a point the Leviathan threat will take paramount priority, and the longer it's left, the more immediate that priority will become. Now, as can be seen with his original writing of the Codex Astartes, Guilliman is a very adaptable commander, running the theoreticals and practicals of situations over in his mind. He's not one who is focused on one particular manner of war, and so I think I'd probably give him the edge in terms of responding to mistakes, lessons learned. That doesn't mean he's infallible, however. In his training simulation against Corax, he actually lost the first campaign. Now, he responded with that adaptability, winning everyone after, but he still lost that first one. And in the event of his death at the hands of Fulgrim, he was completely outsmarted by the Phoenician from beginning to end, rushing in haste when in truth it was all a trap. So even for the usually reserved Guilliman, there are times his temper can still get the better of him. Now for Lion L. Johnson. Here we have a Primarch who we still have yet to see how his return to the Imperium will completely affect him. So far we've seen a far more forgiving man than we used to know, a Primarch undoubtedly shaped and scarred by the losses of the Heresy and Caliban. Yet there's also been those flashes of the Lion of old still within, and for all his drive to salvage the Dark Imperium, when last seen he had only just found out the Imperium still exists beyond the rift at all, and that his brother Guilliman survives too. So there's still a lot to unravel with Lion L. Johnson. As a military commander, however, I doubt much has changed in that regard. He's still definitely going to be a commander who leans on the offensive. A commander who has no compassion for the enemies of the Emperor, and a man who is instinctively a hunter, a predator who stalks his prey. Even against the Tyranids, Lion L. Johnson is going to be the apex predator. He may be 10,000 years older now, but he's still undoubtedly one of the most fearsome combatants in existence. This guy went up against the demon-elevated Angron and beat him, and still moans about not being at his best. Despising that age has slowed him down, and he still beat a fully primed demon-elevated Angron. Lion L. Johnson is an absolute beast. And so I think quite obviously we have to give him the nod in terms of personal combat. Though to be fair, I don't think there's much from the Tyranids that Guilliman couldn't handle one-on-one either. Will their gene lines and, let's be honest here, de facto legions matter? I don't think they do too much. Both the Ultramarines and their successors, along with the Unforgiven, are exemplary at what they do. And I really don't think there'd be much pursuit of the Fallen to worry about on a campaign against the Tyranids. And the forces arrayed against Leviathan are going to be far more than just your standard Astartes chapters. This will be appalling of the vast Imperium's might. Militarum, Sororitas, even Custodes. It'll be the full works. Now yes, the Primarchs would most likely rely on their own sons the most, but it's a far larger operation than just them. So it'll really come down to the mentality of the Primarchs themselves, for me. That more aggressive, attack-orientated mindset of L. Johnson, and the more balanced approach of Guilliman. I definitely feel more like L. Johnson would be the more direct, that his fleets would turn up and just start pounding the enemy across the board. And you could definitely see him utilising a lot of boarding actions against the key bioships as well. Very much the philosophy of a good defence is a good offence. Whereas with Guilliman, I could see him being a little more cautious, a little more attention paid to fortifying worlds just in case, ensuring the Imperium has that foundation. In an isolated vacuum against the Tyranids in particular, I think I'd tend to lean more towards the Lion, the direct approach truly being the best. You know what the Tyranids are going to bring, you've just got to obliterate them. They're a bit like the Orcs, the longer they go the stronger they get, unless you're going scorched earth exterminatus tactics. And I don't think either of the Primarchs would remotely contemplate that. As brutal and emotionless as the Lion can be at times, he is all about protecting humanity. He is not enacting exterminatus. However, in the galaxy we're in this situation, I think Guilliman has one big advantage over L. Johnson that he simply can't match. Time. As I said, Guilliman has had time to prepare for the Tyranids. He will have studied the history of each and every Hive Fleet emergence, how it was defeated, what the cost was, and how they evolved each following time. Now, L. Johnson's mind could do that in seconds en route to dealing with them, of course. But I just think if there's one Primarch you don't want to give time to prepare, it's Roboute Guilliman. Any mistakes he has ever made have come when he hasn't had the opportunity to prepare. The loss against Corax, he didn't know what to expect. After that, he was undefeated. The loss to Fulgrim, he let his emotion lead him in pursuit. Even the Wordbearer's Shadow Crusade was an ambush. Let's be honest here, after that, it was the Ruin Storm that stopped Guilliman reaching Terra, not Lorgar or Angron. The Ultramarines largely emerged fully intact. Sure, Guilliman's been busy leading the Indomitus Crusade, planning his crossing of the Great Rift. But his mind can do 100 things at once. And he absolutely would have had a plan in place for the next emergence or Hive Fleet. You could say it's lucky for the Tyranids that they've emerged when Guilliman's busy on the other side of the galaxy. If he wasn't, they may have already been dealt with. So yes, both Primarchs represent the Imperium's clear best counter to the Tyranids, their best hope of victory. In an isolated situation, I would personally prefer the more aggressive mindset of L. Johnson. But in this galaxy, in this situation, when he's had time to learn and prepare, there is no way the Tyranids are beating Roboute Guilliman. And so for me, he is the Imperium's best hope of victory. The simple question is, can Guilliman get there in time? Will the High Lords of Terror's Soulblade fleets work? But as always everyone, what do you think? When it comes to Roboute Guilliman and Lionel Johnson, which Primarch represents the best hope of stopping Hive Fleet Leviathan? Do you agree that Lionel Johnson's more aggressive direct approach has its own set of advantages, but when Roboute Guilliman's had time to prepare, which he undoubtedly would have done, there is quite simply no stopping him? And which of the Primarchs do you think will be the one to return across the rift to face Leviathan? Or will it be neither? Will it truly fall down to the actions and plans of the High Lords of Terror? As always everyone, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.